Okay. Thank you very much for that. So we record these sessions so that these sessions are available on YouTube later on. Nahid, can you please introduce yourself? Nahid.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Actually, there is a problem in my camera. That's why I can't open my camera
Okay,
right now.
no problem.
Hopefully you are doing well.
Very well. Please introduce yourself and tell us what you do and what actually brought you here in the session.
Okay. Today is my first day in this session because in the previous class there was an internet issue. That's why I couldn't join. And I am Nahid Binti Islam from Bangladesh. And I have completed my graduation in computer science and engineering from Ahsanullah University of Science and Technology. And I have also completed my MS in computer science and engineering.
Okay.
And currently I am a digital marketer and I am working in a US company. And right now I'm just doing my remote job from home. And my main focus is to build a career outside of the country, like in Europe or USA, and I want to go for the PhD or more high studies there. Okay. That's why when I was looking at LinkedIn, some resources for fellowship, I just got your message there, and I was really excited about that because I thought that I will be able to learn many new things from that fellowship program. That's why I joined in that program, and I registered. Though I didn't know about the program thoroughly, but I was really hoping that it will be a great program. But unfortunately, I couldn't join the last sessions. But hopefully, from now on, I will be continue with you all.
Superb. I think the first thing we really need to keep thinking is about our own commitment. If we are committed, we will grow. If we are not committed, we will not grow. We may grow, we may still grow, but the growth will not be as fast. So now that you are here, stick to it. It is going to be a 3 months, one cohort will go on for 3 months. And some people come in and some people come in and go away, which that's the way it is. I don't personally, because I'm giving my time for free, and which means that I'm actually contributing for the benefit of everyone who is going to be part of it. So condition is very simple. Please continue coming in and keep sharing the knowledge. It's not that I'm the only one who has the knowledge. People around us are very talented. All of you are young people. And I learn like from my 17-year-old daughter also, because I was struggling with editing. I do a bit of YouTube videos also. And she could do it on her cell phone. I mean, I could not do it on my cell phone, but she could do it. So I actually learned that there is a very easy to use tool in Windows 10 that you can use as an editor also. So I did not know that. I figured it out. So learning never stops. And if we don't learn, our decline starts at that point in time. So Shazil, yes, please introduce yourself, unmute and introduce yourself. Shazil, are you there? Okay. So we have a special guest today in today's session. Anybody who is not here is going to miss it out in a big way. And this guy is, you can see him. He's not an artist, by the way. He's a branding specialist. He's based in Mississauga, and we are lucky that today I was able to get hold of him. He's otherwise very busy, and today, because of Friday, he starts. Okay, Shadil, no problem. You can still introduce yourself to everyone. Just tell who you are. And Fadikimi, how are you? Joining in from Nigeria.
I'm fine.
Awesome,
Hi.
awesome. So Kashif is a branding guy. He is a very dear friend of mine, and today I brought him in because we will talk about personal branding and how personal branding helps us in our career growth. That will be the discussion for today. Um, so, I mean, but before we go any further, I think Mohit, you have an agenda item in which you wanted to share about these people who have been successful in becoming author in the past 4 weeks. So can you please tell us how it had happened and what they did and what you are doing on your book also. Please go ahead. You have to unmute. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Hammad. Sorry for repeating within the car, but that's how what commitment is. So the journey began, I guess, in September somewhere when I got to know about Hammad, and I did the fellowship in the first cohort. And I successfully graduated, and I never went absent from any of the class. And we met once a week. That was Friday, 8 to 9 p.m. This sentence was so strong, Friday, 8 to 9 p.m., that my whole family knew that something was going to happen. So leave him alone. That was the commitment. So fast forward, I was enabled by Hammad to write my first ebook. I was very passionate about the skills of our youth graduates, fresh graduates especially, because as an industry we are very discouraged, we are very demotivated, and we are very disappointed by the skill set our youth carries to the corporate sector. So that's why I'm on a mission to improve them through different tools. And in the last cohort, we did a lot of exercise. We were doing we were developing the right mindset, we were developing the growth mindset, we were enabling the people to aim at the C-suite. So C-suite to me was the top level. And I honestly, I swear to God, I started thinking about going out the top. And I kept on sharing my journey throughout with Hammad, and Hammad kept guiding me. And Alhamdulillah, within 2 months, the right mindset, the growth mindset, enabled me some positions and some negotiations with companies. And by the grace of Almighty Allah, my organization is enabling me to become the head of innovation at a private chartered university. So there is a pay raise. I mean, they are thinking about 6 increments. I've got a job offer from a public sector university as well, which I'm thinking to consider. But back to the point.
Can you hold on a moment here? How many hours of total effort, like how many hours in the past 2 months have you spent on just focusing on your growth? How many hours?
I think except the 5 hours of sleep, other than that, I was just thinking about how to enable myself and people to grow.
So 5 hours in a month.
From that perspective, yes, I committed 8 hours.
Right, in a month. So in 16 hours, no, let's because whatever you're doing otherwise is the next level thing, right? But if you can work around your career, career growth, 16 hours in 2 months, you can achieve it. I'm not putting words into his mouth. What he is telling me, I'm just repeating that in a different manner, right? So spend 16 hours in a direction, and he's implementation maybe like another maybe 10-15 hours. So altogether 1 hour every day he spent towards his personal development and growth, and he achieved it, right? In 2 months.
And the first cohort lasted for 6 weeks, I guess. And
yes.
In this cohort, we are already in the 4th week now.
Yes.
I mean, you gave me a new direction to think about how to grow, and I started thinking. Although the things were there in my personality,
right,
there were things, but I was not able to tap them. I was not able to recognize that I already have the potential, but I was not using it.
Right. So what has happened that he graduated and he's become my co-host, right? So he is co-hosting. Hopefully, next cohort, when the next cohort comes in, he will run his own plan. And that's the plan. And if all of us could do that, we were actually giving back to the community and we're learning ourselves also. So, and his book is in the process. So I threw him the first cohort. I threw everybody in the water. I said, you write a book. I did not give them any guidance, and so he was like struggling by putting it together. In this cohort, the aim was different. I said, okay, let's give them a bit of handhold and see how far they can go. And of the 5 or 6 initially who joined in, 2 have already written their book and they've sent me their ebooks already. So they have become authors. Nasib is also working on it, but he unfortunately not well these days. So hopefully when he is back, with full spirit and strength, he's going to complete his book on customer service. We will quickly go to Fahim, because I think Fahim, you have joined in for the first time. And I will talk to Farikimi as to what she has done in the past 1 week, and then we will we'll talk to Kashif about personal branding, and it will be a communication, and we can ask questions also. So Fahim, can you please introduce yourself? What brought you here? Why are you here? What do you want to learn? If you're there, you have to unmute yourself. Okay. Fudikemi has disappeared because internet in Nigeria is very bad. Okay, so without any further ado, Kashif, thanks for joining us, sparing time for us. So the question is, how personal branding can help us grow in our career? That's the question. And around that question, share your thoughts. And because I just picked you up from your bed, I know you're not prepared, but somebody like you don't really need preparation. You already know what you have to speak about. Yeah, so a bit of introduction, what you had been doing, from British Council to Ericsson and running your own agency and then coming to Canada. This is what he had been doing, but let's come back to the question.
Hello, hi. I hope you can hear me.
Yes,
can
absolutely.
You hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, good evening, guys. How are you? So without further ado, I will just start with the topic. First, a bit of introduction of myself. I have a career span of over 15 years, working in mostly communication, coordination roles and field. I was in advertising, I was in media, back home in Pakistan. And so I have about 10 years of working with agencies, brands, and basically started my career from British Council in Karachi, and then worked with Sony Ericsson for about 5 years, and then with my own agency, ran it for about 3-4 years. So that's about it. 2015, I migrated to Canada, then went back to head the communication department, broadcasting communication department for Bold TV. I was there till 2019. Then finally, I decided to move back to Canada, and I'm here. And here also, I'm working on a couple of gigs, and of course, I give one-on-one advice on branding and communication stuff to NGOs, which is NGOs, entrepreneurs, and everything. So this is a brief background. So personal branding, basically, what is personal branding? So basically, I do not go from the textbook perspective of personal branding. For me, personal branding is very practical. I tend to take a one-on-one approach to personal branding that depends on who you are, what you want to do, what you want to achieve. And that's what personal branding for you would mean. It's basically how people perceive you and perceive your brand on the face value of it. So it's basically a practical approach of putting yourself out there in a way that instantly people recognizes who you are, what you do, what you stand for, and build a persona around you or your brand. And that's how you're going to be successful, basically. So just breaking it down, it means that when somebody sees you, either in the form of a video, in a form of a website, any social media presence, how quickly they recognize you, how high or low they rank you in terms of what they see. So basically somebody who is, for example, if you are a hairdresser and if you're selling, asking people to take your services for, cutting their hair, and you're promoting yourself for it, and you have hair like me, all over the place. So basically, you're not going to be taken very seriously. So people like to buy what they see and what they perceive, not basically what you're saying. So just what you're saying. So what you say does, it does matter, but the overall brand persona matters more. How people see you as a whole and where they rank you. And I'm no expert. I'm still a student of brand communication and communication as a whole. And right now, things are evolving. We are not where we were 1 year ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. So we quickly need to adapt and quickly need to see what's going on around us. For example, I like to be practical about things. 10 years ago, Facebook was a phenomenon. People, like to be seen on Facebook, brands loving it, being there, putting yourself out there. It was a big thing. Whatever you were doing was on Facebook. That has changed. Facebook is not considered a very hip platform for young people. Even most of the young people are not there anymore. Now Instagram is more hip. Now TikTok has taken over. So things move, and things move very fast. So basically somebody who was selling services or a personal brand on Facebook 10 years ago, if they have not moved on to the newer platform, if they have not upgraded themselves, they're stagnant, or they may have died. So that's the era we are in, where now coming back to the personal brands bit. Now, let's talk about the dissection of a personal brand. What does a personal brand in practical terms means? It means that when people see you, what are the consistent elements that they see about you? Do they see you wearing the same kind of clothes? Do they see the same kind of colors? Do they see the same kind of language that you're using? Is your message consistent? So it all comes around to consistency. Consistency in your presentation of your brand. So basically what I recommend people, for example, who do video messaging, I tell them that whenever they do a video, they need to have the same, not the same clothes, but the same kind of clothes that they're wearing. The colors that they wear should be in, a right, a same kind of the palette. So if one day you're wearing red and the other day you're wearing yellow and this thing. So consistency is important. So and the surrounding. So basically when you're doing a video, for most of your content should, if it's indoor, it should be in the same kind of atmosphere, in the same kind of thing. So people instantly recognize that, oh, this is the same person. This is the same. So basically the association our mind create with a brand or with a person has to be consistent in order for the person to receive that message. Most people think that just having a logo means you have a brand. Logo is very important. Having a brand identity, which logo is a part of, is very important. But there are other things. With that logo, what kind of colors that you're using, what kind of messaging that you're using is also very important. And the last bit that I want to explain is your core message. So basically, you should never deviate too much from your core message. If your core messaging is around, for example, talk about underprivileged kids. So all of your stories, all of your content that you're putting out has to 90% of the time relate to the same topic, because you can't be a sports person and the right of a champion of underprivileged kids right at the same time. You can reference your message from one thing to another, but 90% of your content has to be targeted, has to reach your right audience. So it's just a mashup of a lot of things. I hope I made sense. But going forward, we can talk more about the practical aspect of it. If you have any questions, yes, go ahead. You're mute.
There is already a question posted by.
Yes, yeah. So we'll pick that question, Nadish. So what I gathered from you is, of course, consistency is really important. And when I coach people for LinkedIn, also I always tell them that you have to be relevant and you have to be consistent. Relevance and consistency will ensure that you are on the right path. You're on the path that would take you to certain destination that you had planned for. The other interesting thing is that the way I see personal branding itself, like a broader branding aspect, branding is a recall factor. And the recall factor means that you, if you are hungry, particularly if we are talking about North America, for instance, you would immediately think of McDonald's. I mean, this just built in your brain, because McDonald's you can buy quickly, whether it's whatever the bad food that is, but that's what people would generally think of. McDonald's shakes are very thick, unusually thick. And the reason I was reading somewhere that McDonald's realized that a lot of people who drive long distances, they in the morning when they leave, usually people don't have breakfast here, and they're on the road, and they buy something on the road, and they just, you know, drink it, eat it, or whatever. So they actually made those shakes so thick that people would be able to drive it for at least 1 hour. So they keep sipping it and keep driving it. The association with that that McDonald's shake would be there for an hour of their driving time, and that's how they the brand McDonald's is just sort of embedded in their brains. So that's the recall factor, and that recall factor can simply be implemented on your own cells also. So how you brand yourselves. Now those people who have authored their ebooks, the next level is that they need to brand themselves as authors, because that will distinguish them from the rest of the community. Not everybody writes books, regardless of whether it's a 5-page book or a 10-page book or a 200-page book. You are an author because you've created something that others have not created so far. So that's how you distinguish yourself. Recognition because of the recall factor, and distinguishing yourself so that people could spot you. Okay, this is a guy who has actually written a book. So that's great. Kashif's question we have from Nadish is, can you tell exactly how sort of consistency in cloth and outlook is rewarding?
Can I rephrase my question a bit?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I understand the message behind consistency, but I also feel that like Kashif Saab also mentioned, there's so many new trends that are coming up all the time, right? So I do think that to a certain degree, if we are building our personal brand, we also have to be highly adaptable in order to stay up to date, stay relevant maybe. So how does the adaptability and consistency come together? So if you can share any insights or examples on that, that would be interesting.
Okay, yeah, I get it. First of all, you don't have to be part of all the trends that are coming up. So very clear. You are just part of the trends that are relevant to you and to your brand. So for example, a TikTok trend, there is one every week. And if you're a serious brand, if your target audience is serious enough, you don't have to be part of that brand. But if like there is a talk around mental health, if there is if there is a sports event or something that may not be directly relevant, but you can talk about it, but then you just immediately needs to reference it with the discussion around you and your brand. So I think that's my take. You don't have to jump on every bandwagon, but whatever bandwagon that you jump on should be relevant for you. And it's also about not 90% of the people, but for 10% of the people, it's about their personality as well. If you're comfortable in your skin, go ahead, by all means, join 100% of the trends. You can pull it off. But if I'm not comfortable, if that's not my personality, if that's not who I am, I not relate to that trend, so I'm not going to pull it off, and people are going to feel it. So you see, you are very transparent on social media. You're very transparent on these trends. So you know what you can pull off, and you know what you can't pull off. And also, if you there, you can also know by the results, right? So if you're brave enough. See, I for once would never do a TikTok dancing trend because it doesn't suit my personality. It is not my personality. It's not my age. It's not my brand persona. But if there is a topic, if there is a current theme that suits what I have to say and it resonates with me, I would not hesitate commenting on that, because then it doesn't matter, what, whether it's not everything is a hit. Not everything you do is going to get you, thousands of likes or what is your objective? Is your objective on jumping onto these trends, expressing yourself? By all means do it. If it's to that people will see me as hip, and they will see me as what I'm not or what I am. So it's all about your targeting, basically.
Can I quote a,
I hope I answered.
Can I quote a, yeah. Just wanted to quote a few examples why I asked this question. So for example, we were talking about how the preferred social media right now for most young people is Instagram, right? And so I see a lot of creators who have, who have very serious day jobs. And in their day job, they are, whatever they're doing on a side, they're also Instagram influencers or content creators, as we would put it, right? So for example, someone who is a hardcore data scientist or a doctor, but what they're doing is trying to democratize the information that they want to tell about their job family, but in a very fun and quirky way, so that people who are younger can relate to that. So now I see so many pages of doctors and psychologists who are talking about, bit-sized information. They're passing on that information and they're doing it while they're dancing and, having those funky audios playing in the background. So I think that has enabled them to do that because they were adaptable in how they initially started out. So they might not have started out with that sort of a vibe, but because that was trending and they use those trends, like you said, if you can pull it off. So at least the ones I follow, I feel like they do pull it off really well. And so they're able to convey their message.
One thing I would like to add to that is, you see, social media is an extension of yourself. Social media is not something that has come out of nowhere. So I am a doctor by profession. If I'm a doctor by profession, in my school days, in my university life, in my practice days, I used to gather around my colleagues and used to tell jokes. So I had an inclination towards comedy right from the beginning. I was telling jokes and was the heart of every group and this thing. So I know I can pull it off. It was part of my personality. So even now that I'm a hotshot doctor, that past experience of that thing that I always had in me, I know I can pull it off on social media. Whereas somebody who is not a people's person, who was never able to tell jokes, who was never the heart or center of the gatherings that he were in, for that kind of a person, I'm not saying it's impossible for him, but it would be hard for him to take that gig from the scratch. So that and yeah, people who can, as I said, people who can pull it off will pull it off. So if you're a kind of a person that read comments on every post and it affects you, don't do it. Okay, and so if you're a kind of person who doesn't give a damn about what people think, I'm gonna do my thing. You like it, like it. You don't like it, don't like it. Then I will do it.
Right. So, so Kashif and I work very closely, and I keep picking his brains for my own initiatives that I have. This is just one that I do for the community, but I have, of course, my money-making initiatives also. And Kashif helps me a lot, and Kashif helps me in a thinking process. So I have an Instagram account for past many years. I've got, I think, close to 1,900 followers. And I couldn't dance. I cannot dance. I just can't. So I'm okay. I am not too serious, but I am not funny. This is how I think I am. So what I said, okay, the thing is that, and then there was this girl who somebody referred to me this account. She's an Indian girl, youngish fellow. She started about a year and a half ago on LinkedIn, because the account was related to LinkedIn, and she achieved 50,000 followers within less than 2 years. And so somebody referred that account to me. Please review her account, and she's like doing great and this stuff. And she would do two things. She would expose herself and she would dance. Now, I can't do that. I mean, first of all, I am not a girl. Number two, I cannot dance. So I cannot be that. I am what I am. So I think consistency to me means that you should be who you are, regardless of what social media platform you are at. There will be fewer people watching you, but these fewer people matter a lot. Often we do not need a large community to be surrounded with. You need the right community. So, for instance, my own focus for my total branding, and those who know me for a long period of time, I am an early adopter of social media. I started using Facebook when Facebook launched. I started blogging when it was blogpost.com, blogspot.com. So I've been there and been doing it. But there was a time when I had to define exactly who I am and what kind of community I want to work with. So giving you an example, because now you gave an example of a doctor, there is a doctor, his name is Dr. Mulani. He's a Pakistani who actually worked at Aga Khan for years. Then he moved to the US. And in the US, he is very famous, or decently famous, on LinkedIn. And what he does, he is in his doctor's, like, whatever they call it, the coat, doctor's coat, with his stethoscope in his neck, and he is just smiling, not doing anything. It's a picture still, and there's always some kind of a message in that picture. His focus was, okay, I would really like to work with the community which is affected of diabetes. And this is a huge community, right? So he started talking about diabetes, how you can avoid it, and very basic stuff. He has tremendous following. And, when he launched his book last year, he sold in thousands. So there has to be a long-term strategy when we are working on a brand as to what do we want to achieve in the long run. So, for instance, I've crossed 45,000 following on LinkedIn, but does not mean that they all are my customers, which means that they won't buy from me. But what they're buying is my personal brand. So they recognize me as somebody who could help them or could talk to them, or they come back to my profile and read something. So personal brand does not mean that you have to be dancing on one platform and be serious on the other platform. I personally feel, and I agree with Kashif, the consistency really is the key. A lot of following is not the key. Right community, relevant and targeted community is what we need to build. If we don't build that, then we are not relevant. People will still come and watch our dancing and 1, 2, 3 things that people do on LinkedIn or on Instagram. But is it going to impact? No, it will not. So this is what we really need to think when we are building our personal brand. And it's not a short process. So I share my own journey.
Can I just quickly add something?
Yes, please.
We have just talked about generic things up till now. So I just want to, just share a few tips per se for people who. So basically, what you want to do as a brand is, first of all, you think about what you are, what you stand for, and basically you can come up with a value statement, a mission statement, which is, is very bookish, very theoretical, but just generic terms, who you are, what you want to achieve, and also look at the relevant people, the people you aspire to be. Pick things from them, see what they're doing, see what they're doing right, and see what you can adapt from them, learn from them, and make a list and stick to it. So basically, remove any inconsistencies from your messaging, from your branding, from your post, from everything that you do. And when you will start to do that, what you will come up with is sort of a brand guide for your own self. This is what I continue to do. This is what I will do in future. This is what I will never do. This is what I will use. This is what I won't use. And putting it in as practical terms as possible. So this is the color palette that I'm going to use for my fonts. These are the fonts that I'm going to use for anything that I'm going to post. These are the colors that I use. And then sticking to it. This is basic, just starting off personal branding tips for you. And as you grow, as you mature, you'll pick other things as well. You will continue to improve yourself. But this is a basic, start with which you would like to have.
Awesome. So is there anyone else who has a question you can ask? Now we have another 10 minutes in this session. If you have any question, Moeed or Naseeb or Nahid or Shazil, our focus today is to learn how we should really be looking at building our own brand. And our own brand means how people would recognize us or recall us. Any questions?
I wanted to ask some questions regarding the personal brand, but when Nazish asked the question, Kashif was able to answer that. My first question was that, do we really need to develop a statement, personal statement, or a punchline? Secondly, do we need to review? What standards do we need to review on a quarterly basis, on a fortnightly basis? That am I actually headed to the right direction? I mean, is there any set standards, parameters, KPIs in the world of personal brand which we can refer to?
Can I pick this up, Kashif, for you?
Sure.
Okay, so I think that's where my story comes into place. When I started April last year, my personal brand was LinkedIn Profile Pro. Okay, I lived with that for 3-4 months. Then we thought, Kashif and myself, this is too long, this is too boring, people would not understand it. What do we do? The next brand that I created for myself was LinkedInimpact.com. So it's a website, but of course, that was my brand. Kashif worked on it. We liked it. We continue. Still, at this moment in time, my LinkedInimpact.com website is on. But as we grew and we kind of unfolded more interesting things in branding, working with Kashif, the most recent one, which we agreed about 4 months ago, and I'm actually currently working on it, is how do you define yourself? So that was a question. So I said, I would like to define myself as a LinkedIn coach. So he said, that should be your brand. People would recognize you as a LinkedIn coach, not as LinkedIn impact. So, and it was so simple. Then Kashif gave me a great tagline. I'm your link to LinkedIn. So that's a tagline that Kashif gave me. And I try to kind of use that whenever I go out and meet people, what do you do? I'm your link to LinkedIn. And, it has to be inquisitive enough so that people could ask questions. And it should be self-explanatory enough that if they don't ask questions, even then they would know. So I think we try to give you a practical example of what I have gone through, and we all go through the same process. So people know me as LinkedIn coach anyway. So what I'm doing, I'm only augmenting it by branding myself as a LinkedIn coach. My new website, which is coming up also, in fact, it's already up, things are happening around it, is linkedincoach.net. So, it's just very simple. Kash, you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I would like to add कि किसी को घर से निकलते ही मिल गई मंजिल, कोई हमारी तरह तमाम उम्र सफर में ही रहा.
What about those who don't understand Urdu?
So I thought that most of the people understand Urdu, that they will understand. So it's like some people, when they start off, they know what they want and they right away go and achieve what they wanted. Some people have to work at it, evolve over time, and, may deviate from what they initially thought that they can achieve. But personal branding, like branding, is an evolving concept. So, for example, look at when McDonald's started. Hammad mentioned McDonald's, where they started. What was, or more relevant, let's take Coke, for example, Coca-Cola. See where they were when they started, what kind of bottles they were using, which logo they were using, and every decade, after a few years, they had to rebrand themselves according to changing times. They had to come up with, when it was in 80s, there was Michael Jackson and Madonna, and there was the pop stuff. They had to go in that direction, and then you see after 40 years they come back to the same bottle that they were using in 50s or 60s. So it's a continuous process, and there is, you said, a formula. I don't think there is a formula. There isn't a formula. Or if there is a formula, then everyone can, apply to and get result. I don't think so. There are generic guidelines that if you go and search and research, you can find it. But you have to see whether those guidelines apply to you or not. Not everything applies to you. You are the master of your own destiny. It's how you want to project yourself. And the good thing is, unlike past, where you had to wait for a response on how you're perceived and what you're doing right and wrong is, now you get instant response. You put yourself out there, you try something new, whether you are well received or ill received. So there is no magic formula. There are general guidelines that applies to most people, but there isn't something that applies to everyone. I hope that
like Facebook changing to Meta. I mean, why on earth they would needed it, right? So I think this is great. We tried to cover in 45 minutes bits and pieces about personal branding, and we all should work on it so that people could recognize us. If you're a customer service person like Nosib is, people should recognize him as a customer service person. And the process that we have adopted is like, doing your book, and eventually they will be doing their videos also. I'm going to challenge everyone to do a video coming next Friday, and I will coach you how you can do videos and what is the power of that video, those videos. And if there is anything else, Naseeb or Nahid or Shazil, you want to ask, we have another 4 minutes in the session. If not, then I will thank everyone. Your task for this week is to create your tagline. How do you want to be known? How do you want people to recognize you? And the recall factor that we talked about. So that's the task for this week. And when we come back next week, I hope Shazil and Nahid and Nadish, you would continue coming back, keep coming back, bring more people if you think that they may be interested. But the only thing that we need is commitment so that we all grow together. Kashif, thank you for your time today. Hopefully we'll try to bring you again in few weeks time to share with you how they have transformed, how this whole cohort is transformed into their personal branding and what they have achieved out of it, so that you get some encouragement also as part of this whole interesting exercise that we are trying to implement in many countries. So unfortunately, friend from Nigeria couldn't join in. She joined in and she went away. She's a fashion designer because of the internet that we have in Nigeria. So all the best. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your, well, in fact, your weekend has just have started in many countries. Our weekend will start tonight. And yeah, Shazil, keep coming back. You will only learn if you continue. If you don't continue, then of course, you will not learn. Eventually, the idea is that, 3-4 weeks down the line, we all will be working together in tandem. Thank you, Kashif. I'll talk to you
Thank you.
later. Okay, bye-bye. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Bye.
Assalamu alaikum.